All right, it's time for another educational video. So we're going to discuss 6 more common ballet mistakes and how to fix them. So do make sure that you stick around until the end of the video so you get all the information you need. And yes, there is a Christmas tree next to me. Don't judge, I live in Estonia. It's very dark out here, so wanted to make it a little cozier. All right, no time to waste. Mistake number 1. Your knees not tracking over your toes. This is a super common mistake. I see it with a lot of people, and it's due to the fact that a lot of us tend to push for turnout with our feet. But if you know the correct ballet technique, and if you understand how the body works, you will know that the majority of turnout comes from your hips. Yes, your knees and your feet do participate in turnout, but it's a very small percentage. Most of it stems from the hips. So now, if you are pushing for a lot of turnout with just your feet, then first thing that is going to happen is that you're probably going to be rolling on your feet. So they're going to be rolling inwards like this. As a result of that, a bunch of things are going to happen. And the second thing, what is going to happen, is the fact that when you plie, your knee is also going to be rolling inwards. That is not something that we want, and I'll explain to you in a second why. Your knee always needs to be tracking over your toes. So if you catch yourself next time in, let's say, in first position, and if you look at yourself from the side, if you have a mirror there, always make sure that your knee is tracking over your toes. Why is this important? It's very strenuous on the body and on the joints and on the ligaments if that knee is not tracking correctly, and where things get really bad with this, if you go into your jumps like this and if you land like this. And trust me, I've seen horrible things happen. Don't want to scare you, but it is an important topic. For example, you land single leg. Let's say you've done a cabriole. You land on one leg and that knee is rolling inwards. Injury, like major red flag there. So your task now is to check every single plie that you do at the bar, in the center. Do I have the correct knee tracking? If not, it's fine. Go into slightly less turnout so that your knee can be exactly on the same line as your toes. Do not underestimate the importance of that, especially thinking about your jumps. All right, moving on. Mistake number 2. Trying to balance and having too much weight either on the big toe or on the pinky toe. Now, this is a little bit of a controversial topic for some reason, even though it shouldn't be. And I'm going to tell you that you need to balance with your body weight evenly placed between all of your toes. Why? If you put too much weight on the big toe, first of all, you will eventually destroy your bunion. Trust me, I know this happened to me. I used to do it because I thought that the shape of it looked nicer. Because you know, if you can check now, if you have the opportunity from the mirror as well, if you put a little bit more weight on the big toe, you get that winged line of the foot. And people think that that is the line that you should strive for everywhere in ballet. No, that line needs to be there when we, have our foot at the back or on the floor, when we lift it up, for sure. When you balance, no, because it, like I said, it will destroy your big toe and your bunion. Second thing is too much weight on the pinky toe. Now, first of all, that is a very compromised position because it's very easy for you to kind of like roll over your ankle there. And it's just a pinky. Like, imagine if you're trying to balance, especially on single leg, with all of your body weight just there. Like, logically as well, it doesn't make that much sense. So you do want to have the weight evenly placed between all the toes. Now I've had people tell me that, oh, but if I do that, my foot looks sickled. It does not. Your foot looks sickled if you put too much weight towards the pinky. When you do place your weight evenly between all your toes, you also need to make sure that your arch, the bony structure at the top, is also tracking directly over all those toes. If the arch starts rolling a little bit towards the outside of your body, that's the one that can create this image of a slightly sickled foot. But if your body weight is evenly and the arch is tracking directly over the toes, your foot will not look sickled whatsoever. Trust me on that one. So next time you're balancing, whether that be on two legs or on single leg, you can check yourself from the mirror and see if you have any one of those two tendencies. And if you do, then remember, body weight evenly between all of your toes, your balance is going to be so much more stable. Mistake number 3, having more body weight on the ball of your foot. Now, before anybody says anything, this is a little bit of a controversial topic, I would say, because there are a lot of teachers who say that you do need to have more weight on the ball of your foot. And then there are other teachers that say that you need to have your weight on the ball of your foot and on your heel evenly. Now, I'm going to speak from my own experience and from what helped me personally. For example, if you do have more weight on the ball of your foot, so towards your toes, and the heel is a little bit, let's say, like disconnected from the ground, for me, that is not the most optimal way to perform specific steps, because, for example, if you were to go into your pirouettes like that, and let's say you're doing your plie in 4th position before you take off for the turn, I feel like having your weight evenly between the ball of your foot and your heel is going to generate more force, because you're really pushing your whole foot into the ground to then push up into the turn. The same thing for me applies in jumps, because if you get into the habit of having too much weight on the ball of the foot, you're going to plie before you jump, and the same applies to when you're landing from a jump, and your heel is again slightly disconnected from the ground. First of all, with jumping, that's going to put a lot of strain on your shins, and shin splints and things like that are already really common things that happen in ballet because of the type of work that we do and the amount of jumping that we do. So we want to avoid having extra strain on our shins. So because usually it is difficult for people, and I'm also speaking to a lot of adult dancers and people that started later on in life, if you build a habit of something at the bar and in the center, that habit will transfer over into your jumps and into your point work as well. So for me personally, I have not seen any benefit from having more weight on the ball of the foot. Of course, if we're standing in a demi-point position, that's a whole different story. I'm talking anything that happens in flat. So perhaps for you not to build a habit that is not going to work in your favor when it comes to your jumps, or maybe even when it comes to your point work, you could try and see how you feel if you always have your body weight evenly between the ball of your foot and your heel. So test it out, see if you feel the difference, see if you can generate more force to go into, for example, if you need to plie and then you need to releve into a balance, or if you need to plie and you need to go into a turn, or if you need to plie and you go into a jump, and see if it's going to help you have a little bit more power for those steps. Mistake number 4, being afraid to use your head. So this is a very simple yet complicated thing, it turns out, for a lot of students. I think that this stems from the fact that obviously dancers and students place so much emphasis on what their legs are doing. But as I always say, it's going to take you a really long time, especially as an adult dancer, to get that super, super good quality and coordination into your legs. And that's completely fine. But if somebody has beautiful upper body movements, beautiful port de bras, and they use their head beautifully, I'm actually really, and trust me on this one, I'm not going to pay that much attention to their legs. Obviously, I will still look at their legs, but they can fully mesmerize me with how they use their upper body and their head. So don't be afraid in your classes to use your head. And also the main and the key point here is to use the downward motion of the head as well. So for example, I'm gonna try to show you now. Let's say that you need to do a classic Vaganova preparation. So you're standing in your preparation, then you need to allonger, you need to bring your arm to first, and you need to open it to second. I can do it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I can use the slight downwards motion with my head and with my chin to have an extra emphasis on the beautiful motion that is the allongé. So I could go 1, slightly down, allongé 2, slightly down, turn the head 3, and now open it on 4. Those slightly downwards motions with the head and with the chin make a massive difference. Especially, again, another example. Let's say you need to plie releve into an attitude. If you keep your head like super, let's say one-dimensional, you're just going to plie releve and nothing's happening with the head. But it doesn't look super artistic or interesting. And I want the emphasis to be on that motion of you reaching that attitude in the releve. And you can make it so much more expressive if you go and 1. That little, say you do a diagonal, you need to finish in a pose, down, up, because the emphasis is always on the pose that is up. This is something that I speak about a lot during my Saturday Zoom group classes, because yes, I want my dancers to do all the movements nicely, but I also want them to have beautiful upper body movements. And obviously artistry takes years to build, but the quicker you start implementing those small details into your ballet class, the easier it's going to be for you in the end to keep developing it. So try to take a little bit of attention from the legs and put it to your upper body, put it to how you use your port de bras and how you use your head. Because trust me, even that one simple down before going into an allongé, it makes such a big difference, and you're immediately, it's a quick fix, you're immediately going to look more artistic and more like an actual dancer rather than just executing a bunch of steps. All right, mistake number 5, trying to do an arabesque over 45 degrees while keeping your hips completely square. So this is a tricky one now, because you do need to open the hip of the leg that is going into arabesque a little bit. You don't want to do it too much to the point where, again, all of you starts rotating and twisting towards that hip that you're trying to open. But try it out right now. If you go into an arabesque and your hips stay completely square, you can probably go to about 45 degrees. If you're really flexible, you can probably do a little bit more. But you can go into a really, really nice and high arabesque. So for you to be able to do that, forget about the square hips rule. I know that it is everywhere in ballet, but arabesque is not one of those places where you need to be thinking about that. So when you go, let's say you're doing an arabesque through a retire, then when you go into your retire, yes, your hips are still square. When you start opening that leg, let that hip of the arabesque open up just slightly. Meanwhile, you are, as per usual, you're utilizing the glutes on that side of the leg that is opening into arabesque. You're trying to keep that rotation going. So remember that everything in ballet all the time, like squeezing a wet towel, everything all the time from the hip and then all of the other parts of your leg are going to follow, is constantly rotating forwards. So you're going into your retire, everything is nice and square. You start opening up into that arabesque, and then as the leg extends, you can let that hip go ever so slightly. But remember, it has to be slightly. If you catch yourself twisting and rotating, then you know that you've done too much. Test it out with the arabesque and see for yourself. But an arabesque is not a movement where you want to stick to that rule, because your leg will just be stuck. So try it out, see it for yourself, and let me know in the comments if it helped you. And last one, mistake number 6. Going through the class using empty plies. What do I mean by an empty plie? A plie that goes down, you stop, and then you come back up. This is going to be really easy for you to test out and see the difference. You do not want to do an empty plie, because if you do so, again, in terms of generating force and generating power, if you jump empty plie, you stop, and then you try to jump up, it's so difficult. It's so hard because you're not generating the power with a nice and continuous plie. The same theory applies for your pirouettes. The same theory applies for any type of plie releve action that you might do. So, like I said, it's easy for you to test this out. So go into a plie, for example, in 5th position, stop in your demi-plie, and then push up into a retire on demi-point. Now do the same thing, but go into a continuous plie. So you go plie, plie, up. And in your head, it's going to help a lot if you count it always like that as well. Plie, plie, up, rather than plie, up. It really makes a huge difference. Also, excellent way to test it out. If you're doing a diagonal and you're doing soutenu and you're going to empty plie, and then you're going to try to push yourself into the soutenu. Again, you're going to feel like it's heavy, and it's like, I don't really have anywhere to get that power from. If you use that good, and like I say, a juicy plie, and you go plie, plie, soutenu, plie, plie, soutenu, you're gonna feel an instantaneous difference. So don't forget that. That's why also plie is one of the most important movements in ballet, because everything comes from a plie. All of your turns, all of your jump. So don't underestimate the importance of a good quality plie. And always remember, juicy plies, continuous plies, and not dry plies. And it starts from the very, very first combination you do at the bar. So guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I love making these ones because I love giving you all the information in the world. Also, side note, if you are a complete beginner and you want this clarity and you want a step-by-step progression so you can see how you're improving with every single class, and you want to do it from the comfort of your own home, it is possible with my Ultimate Beginner's Ballet course. So if you're interested, I'm going to leave the link in the description below. Make sure to check it out. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to support the channel, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel as well, and turn on the notification bell to make sure that you never miss a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.